dear students. Welcome to yet another edition of my lectures, and this one is going to be on. This is the second lecture on lyrical ballads, and today we are going to discuss the characteristics of a poet. What makes a poet? Why is everybody not a poet? What is the difference between you and me as common people and a poet? Okay, so let me begin with a very easy thing. How to explain? We are all mankind, humankind. So in kind we are the same. We are different in a degree. Now degree of what? So that comes the first point. There comes the first point. We are different in the degree of the kind of sensitivity and sensibility we have towards the pains, the sorrows, the sufferings, the happiness, the joy, the different feelings of the world, of the people of the universe. Okay, so basically the first point would be that poets are exceptionally sensitive and they have a very lively sensibility and they have a tenderness about themselves. Now if I were to explain this, that if I were to explain this in terms of Wordsworth, what would it be? Wordsworth said they have a very comprehensive soul. Their personal pain can be universalized. Now if I give you an example of this, what is an exceptional sensitivity? It is that the kind of things which just pass you by, जिनको आप नोटिस भी नहीं करते, उन सबको पोइट्स नोटिस करते हैं, क्योंकि उनकी सेंसिटिविटी, उनकी सेंसिबिलिटी बहुत प्रोफाउंड होती है. एंड दे हैव अ कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव सोल मीन्स दैट every feeling of either sorrow or happiness is totally under their periphery. Like they have a mind and they have a mind. They have a mind and a soul. They have feelings and they have thoughts, and their feelings and thoughts engulf, or they sort of surround, or they sort of store all sorts of feelings and emotions that you and me feel at different points of time. Now what happens, this is very interesting to note. Suppose there is a death in our family. We weep, we wail, we are miserable, we feel we are the saddest saddest lot on the earth. But that doesn't happen with the poet. You have seen elegy. Personally अपने फ्रेंड की डेथ को उन्होंने यूनिवर्सलाइज कर दिया. You have so many examples I can give you from literature where the personal grief of the poet has been universalized. That is what is called a comprehensive soul, in which जब उनको एक पर्सनल पेन हो रहा है, पर्सनल जॉय हो रही है, तो देन दे नो हाउ इट फील्स, हाउ दिस पर्टिकुलर फीलिंग इज फेल्ट बाय द पीपल इन जनरल. आप और हमारे पास इतना टाइम और इतनी सेंसिबिलिटी नहीं होती कि वी थिंक ऑफ एवरीथिंग एल्स. सो द फर्स्ट पॉइंट इज दैट दे हैव अ कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव सोल. कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव सोल हियर मीन्स दैट दे आर एबल टू एम्पथाइज विद योर and my feelings and sensibilities. Their sensibilities can match up with ours, and they can understand our feelings better than we understand our feelings. That is called a comprehensive soul. Now अगर आपके पास एक कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव सोल है, अगर आप दूसरों की सोरोज एंड जॉयज़ को बहुत अच्छी तरह से, जितनी अच्छी तरह से वो खुद नहीं समझ सकते, उतनी अच्छी तरह से इफ़ यू कैन अंडरस्टैंड, तो फिर आपका सेकेंड पॉइंट क्या होना चाहिए? व्हाट शुड बी योर सेकेंड ड्यूटी? दे आर सोशल बीइंग्स, and so they have a social responsibility. What are poets? They are superior sensibility वाले, superior sensitivity वाले लोग are talking to people जिनकी average sensibility या average sensitivity है. So they are talking to us. So of course if they are superior to us in that fashion, they are going to be our guides, they are going to be our mentors, they are going to be our teachers. And as a person, like if as a person I am more sensitive towards whatever happens to you as my students, or to my department people, or to my college people, or to the people I meet, or my social circle, I definitely will be respected for being more sensitive, and then people will definitely try to take me as a teacher, as a mentor, because they will then feel that she's a bit different, she understands us better. So this is exactly what happens. A poet understands us better, so he has a social responsibility of being a great teacher, and जो भी circumstances होती हैं उनको he is able to see in a more sane, more pure and more permanent fashion. Things, जो feelings हैं, जो हमारी sentiments होते हैं, they are fleeting, they pass, but poet actually stores them, and then he is able to actually look into the nitty-gritties, into the intricacies of that feeling, and then for you it might pass. Somebody died, we are miserable for 1.5 to 3 months, then we just take it in our stride. But then a poet doesn't do that. His sensibility actually freezes the feeling, manipulates the feeling, magnifies it, and makes it a different feeling and makes it a universal feeling. And that is what is the social responsibility of a poet, to make make people more sane, make people more more humane. You have to understand that a poetry, the poets, the biggest duty of a poet is to humanize, is to his poetry has to have a humanizing impact. When you're very sad and out, when you now when I talk of poetry, आपने देखा है, आपने सुना है कि गीता ने लोगों की ज़िंदगी बदल दी है ना. आपने सुना है कि रामचरितमानस पढ़ के लोगों के अंदर बहुत पॉजिटिविटी आई. आपने सुना कि जब हम मंत्रोच्चारण सुनते हैं तो वी गेट अपलिफ्टेड. व्हाट इज़ ऑल दिस इज़ ऑल पोइट्री. उसके अंदर एक ह्यूमनाइजिंग, एक बहुत ही ब्यूटीफुल इम्पैक्ट होता है जो हमारे किसी भी एक्सेसिव फीलिंग को, चाहे वह सॉरो की हो चाहे जॉय की हो, उसको एक बैलेंस करता है. एंड दैट इज़ वाई पोइट हैज़ अ सोशल रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी ऑफ बीइंग अ टीचर, ऑफ ह्यूमनाइजिंग द वर्ल्ड फॉर अस. ओके. थर्ड, दे हैव एन एक्स्ट्रॉर्डिनरी स्ट्रॉन्ग इमेजिनेशन. आज जो कुछ है उसमें वो कुछ देख लेते हैं जो कि आप नहीं देख सकते. They can see presence in the absence. What is not there, उसकी वो चीज़ वो लोग देख सकते हैं. तो इनकी इंट्यूटिव पावर्स हम लोगों से बहुत ज़्यादा स्ट्रॉन्ग होती हैं. दे आर एबल टू कॉम्प्रिहेंड आवर फीलिंग्स एंड आवर सेंसिबिलिटीज़ बेटर, आवर सेंटिमेंट्स बेटर. और इसलिए उनके अंदर क्या होता है बेटा, दे हैव he has used two words which I like very much. One, he said कि poets के अंदर एक comprehensive soul होता है, यानी कि जो हर चीज़ को अपने अंदर समा लेता है, which engulfs every sentiment and every feeling of a particular person, of his private feelings and sentiments, and then उनको universalize कर सकता है. So comprehensive होता है. The second thing I like very much about his whatever the word that he has used about poets is organic sensibility, which means that he can think for long, he can think deep, and at the end of the day he can weld his thought with his feelings. Now that is a very important thing, that he can put his feelings and his thoughts together, and he can make a mishmash of it in such a way that whatever gets produced as poetry is both sane and full of sensitivity. Now sane is the head's work, sensitivity is the heart's work. So both of them can be put together by a poet, blended together by a poet, the thought and feelings. And so any emotion that is created by the poetry, any emotion that has been that gets produced by the poetry is very rational and very sane also. So it is not I actually used this terminology in the last lecture when he said poetry is a spontaneous outburst of emotions. It is not a turning loose of emotions. You have to understand the difference. A spontaneous outburst is a sane one. It is a guided one. It is something which has a stratified balance to it. You understand? It is not. It's not turning loose of emotions like a madman or somebody who's raving on the road. Okay. So what you have to understand is that he has an organic sensibility, which means that his sensitivity, his sentiments get guided by his rational self also. And that is why poetry has been talked about such a lot in this in the world. Every literature, every language, every country that you read, the literature of every country, every language that you read, there has been a high respect given to poetry, and only because they feel that poetry is something that is humanizing, poetry is something that is a guiding light, poetry is something that soothes our soul. बहुत simple सी बात है, when you hear ghazals, most of you, आप लोगों में से, I'm sure 100% of you, जब आप लोग गज़ल सुनते हैं, you feel extremely happy. Now they have a very soothing, sad impact on you. फिर भी आप उसे सुनते हैं because basically एट द एंड ऑफ द डे आप देखेंगे कि आफ्टर लिसनिंग टू अ वेरी ब्यूटीफुल लता मंगेशकर सॉन्ग और आफ्टर लिसनिंग टू अ वेरी ब्यूटीफुल गज़ल बाय गुलाम अली, रिटन बाय any from Mir Takamir to Ghalib to Momin, anybody, when you read these great poets, it has a great uplifting impact on you. And that is why poetry has actually been the favorite of literature lovers through the centuries, because we all have actually realized how amazingly uplifting can be the impact of good poetry on you. And that is what makes a poet a great social being with a great social responsibility. कि हम जैसे लोग जो कि ऑर्डिनरी हैं, जो हमारे छोटी छोटी प्रॉब्लम्स के अंदर वी आर स्ट्रगलिंग मॉर्निंग टिल नाइट विद अ स्मॉल लिटिल प्रॉब्लम्स, हम जैसे लोगों को एक एक्स्ट्रॉर्डनरी लेवल पे ले जाने के लिए, अपनी सेंसिबिलिटी के, अपनी सेंसिटिविटी के एक एक्स्ट्रॉर्डनरी लेवल पे ले जाने के लिए, there is one person, and that is the poet. I'm sure that you know the difference between a common person and a poet. Everybody is not a Wordsworth or a Keats or a T.S. Eliot. We cannot be, however much we try. But this kind of question would come in your mind, what makes a good poet. So I hope I'm very clear to you that he has a comprehensive soul. His sensibility, his sensitivity is lively, it is exceptional. He is a social being with a social responsibility, trying to talk to you, trying to humanize this world more, trying to talk about, trying to make you more sane. He has an extraordinarily strong imagination in which he can see things which you cannot see, है ना. उसके अंदर एक वो एक्स्ट्राऑर्डिनरी आय होती है जो आपके अंदर नहीं है, वो पोइट के अंदर होती है. वो कुछ उस छोटी सी चीज़ में देख लेता है जिसको आप कभी सोच भी नहीं सकते. एंड देन ही हैज़ एन ऑर्गेनिक सेंसिबिलिटी, विच मीन्स दैट हिज outburst of emotions, which according to Wordsworth reflected in the moments of tranquility. And then tranquility also, you have to understand, tranquility का मतलब ये नहीं है कि सिर्फ peaceful mind में बैठे हैं. No. Tranquility means when your rational self is at its best. So वो वाले thoughts which have been recollected when those thoughts and feelings and sensitivities which get collected when your mind is guiding them in the correct proportion, and when they meet a correct proportion, they form a piece of poetry. And I have given you example of the Gita. No wonder, the greatest poem on earth. You can I have given you the example of रामचरितमानस, क्योंकि आप लोग में से बहुत सारे लोग हैं जो रामचरितमानस को पढ़ते हैं. Any religious text, every bit of written word which is poetry is humanizing, uplifting, and it upgrades us as human beings. So a poet is a different person from us. Thank you.